All right, let's jump right into Intel's Xe series GPUs. There's another round of leaks, and what I've heard is that we should expect something this year, and it always happens. As you get closer and closer to the release date, the leaks start coming hard and heavy. It is Valentine's Day after all. Hot and heavy, excuse me, sorry.
This one seems almost in direct response to the previous leak.
It kind of does, actually. So Digital Trends has obtained parts of an internal presentation. That's the thing about internal presentations. If you never intend for anybody to see it, why make a presentation?
Well, I think that's
I know. Executives need PowerPoints because they have the attention spans of mice.
No idea what's going on.
Okay, so Digital Trends has obtained parts of what is allegedly an internal presentation from Intel's data center group that gives the first real look at what Intel Xe, codename Arctic Sound,
Kind of cool.
is capable of.
Down with
Yes, let's celebrate the Arctic before it's all gone. The presentation details features that were current as of early 2019. So, it appears as though Intel has at least 3 distinct cards in the works with TDPs ranging from 75 watts all the way up to 500 watts, which is the most we've ever seen from any manufacturer. One of the hottest GPUs that I can remember was AMD's R600.
To clarify here for 1 second, just before people are like, this is gonna burn my house down. It's not made for...
could.
Well,
Probably not, though.
But it's not really made for your house. It requires a 48-volt power connector, which is only provided in server power supplies. I'm sure someone will find a way, but this is not going to be like an average consumer card.
I want to know what the power draw of the Radeon HD 2900 was. That thing was redonkadonk.
Well, you look at that. The base card is 75 watt to 105 watt TDP. It ranges. It is single tile. And these are probably going to be more of your average consumer cards. Then they step up to a dual tile GPU with a 300 watt TDP. This will either be pretty high-end consumer or workstation level cards. It's 50 watts higher than the already power-hungry NVIDIA RTX 2080 Ti, and it's in their high power category. Then the last one, that up to 500 watt, it ranges from 400 to 500 watts. It is a 4-tile card, and it requires that 48-volt power connector that I mentioned earlier, so is probably just kind of like a data center-centric card.
Okay, so the closest we've ever seen in the past was apparently the GeForce GTX Titan Z, clocking in at, I remember this because it broke the PCI Express specification, because it was 375 watts. Now, there have been some other kind of weird exceptions. So the Asus ROG Matrix GTX 580 Platinum, that was a non-reference card, apparently could peak at 370 watts. The GTX 590 was apparently around 365 with the power limiter on. These are all dual GPU cards.
I was just going to say,
so far, though. The highest TDP single GPU card that I can see is the 580. This is, I'm using the geeks3d.com database. I don't know, can I do like a control F3 asterisk asterisk? Is that going to work?
No.
You sure? You sure that won't work?
Yeah.
Why don't placeholders work for this? That sucks.
That would be kind of neat.
What about on the Radeon side? They've done a couple 300 watters, so the 290, 290X, and the 295X2. Yes, it's been done before. The R9 295X2 was apparently a 500 watt card.
Crazy.
All right.
Again, dual GPU though.
So not quite unprecedented. Although this
tile.
seems to suggest that it's going to have multiple, well, maybe not, where do you draw the line between a GPU and a tile? Because, I mean, I don't think anybody looks at something like a Ryzen 3950X and goes, oh, well, that's multiple CPUs. We call it multiple CPU cores. And GPUs, in much the same way, could have multiple cores on separate dies, because that's exactly what AMD is doing on their CPUs. They've actually got chiplets. So these are little like mini chips, and
highly related, but
and
not
they're
the
all
same.
they're all connected through like an I/O hub. So if Intel is planning a design like that, where do we draw the line between
Feels like it.
what constitutes a GPU and what constitutes like a GPU chiplet or a? Would it just kill Intel to use the same terminology as everyone else? Could they just call it a
won't happen.
chiplet? I don't know.
I like chiplet. I like tile.
You like tile?
I think tile's fine.
All right, explain yourself.
I mean, when you look at it, kind of, I think it just kind of looks like a tile. Like, I don't think it's the worst thing ever.
Looks like a tile.
I don't think it's that bad. I think there's been much worse. I think there's been much worse naming schemes, including their own most recent CPUs.
No, you're a tile. You're a tile.
Fine, fair. What was I going to say? I would almost look at it as the ones that don't have 4 tiles.
I'm not a tile.
Or
you're a tile.
chiplets. I knew something was coming. Would be like cut down versions, and a 4 tile or chiplet one would be one full unit.
Don't call me a tile. Yeah, that's fine. I tile chiplet. I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. PCIe 4 compatibility as well.
Exciting. Not that there will be any Intel motherboards to plug it into.
No.
But, I mean, maybe by the time this thing actually arrives. Okay, so with this in mind, are you more or less excited for Intel graphics to enter the
I
Octagon?
am more excited.
You're more excited.
Because previously I think we had only heard of the 75 watt version. Is that right?
Yeah, so I think we were looking at that going, okay, this is going to be like 1050 Ti level performance. But would 4 1050 Ti's really excite you at 500 watts? Bearing in mind that the rumor mill is seeming to suggest that NVIDIA's upcoming RTX 3000 series cards could be as much as 75% faster than their current ones.
I'm not necessarily saying I am notably excited. I'm saying I'm more excited.
More excited, okay.
Because it seemed like they had like a, I don't know, mid to low range laptop card ready to go. And then they were just like, yeah, when we release the desktop version, it's just going to be the laptop one, just on a card. And that was really boring. And now it's like, hey,
500 watts.
it's not boring anymore.
All the power.
I don't know if it's going to be good, but it's not boring anymore.
And it might be one of those things where it's architected mainly for the data center, so it ends up being like really great for machine learning or something like that. But on the desktop, it actually ends up not making a ton of sense.
It could be not really aimed at consumers at all. It could the laptop version one could be like, it goes in laptops, goes in cheap desktops.
Yeah.
Then there could be a genuinely workstation card.
And we might end up seeing it in a lot of
card.
laptops because Intel will pull some kind of like Centrino type branding where, okay, if you buy an Intel wireless chipset and a motherboard chipset and a CPU and a graphics chipset, you have this like Intel Ice Trailwell row lake.
You get a cool badge and maybe it's cheaper or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
we help you with
something like
marketing
that,
probably.
Yeah, usually that's the way it goes. You don't really get a discount, but you get like, $3 worth of MDF. And if you buy enough of them, then all of a sudden you can buy yourself a Super Bowl ad or whatever the case may be.